Hey everybody, today we're playing Hydlide on the NES. Oh, I already closed my list, so I forget who requested it, but I want to just talk about this briefly before I start playing it. Firstly, I normally don't take requests for RPGs, and this is an RPG. And the reason that I don't normally take requests for RPGs is I'm not playing, this is just the attract mode, is because I don't think that in just, like 10-15 minutes I could show really a good enough variety of gameplay for me to come up with some good material, comedy-wise. And I tend to save RPGs for like, it glitched out in the intro, for like Let's Plays and things like that, not for just videos where I'm just going to play it for a little while. So anyway, the other thing, this doesn't really have a whole variety of gameplay, so I'm just going to play it. I'm actually going to start right here. You got to grind up before you can really do anything, so... Hold on. I'm trying to remember how to... There we go. The other thing is that this game's got a really bad rap. It's considered usually to be one of the worst NES titles. And I've played through the whole thing, and I think it's undeserved. It's certainly a flawed game. And it's certainly got some weirdness, but I seem to have realized that the main reason that most people seem to really dislike Hydlide, and they think it's a piece of crap game, is because it came out, at least in America, it came out in 1989, which was pretty late in the NES's library. The Sega Genesis was just like a year away at that point. And it gets compared to games like The Legend of Zelda or Dragon Warrior, which I know is Dragon Quest, obviously. Like Ys, even, for the few people who did play the Ys on the NES. And the fact is that, right on the title screen you can see that this game actually came out. It has two copyright dates. It says 1989, but it also says 1986, which is when it was released for Famicom. It really took it took them that long to release it in America. I don't know why they... There's really not much to translate here, so that's one thing. But actually, even the Famicom version is not the original release. It was based on a PC game that came out in 1984. So this is actually a really old game. So if you think of this in the sense of 1984, think about it. Atari was still big. The NES hadn't even come out in 1984. In 1984, think about it. The crash happened in 1983. Pac-Man came out in 1983. The Atari Pac-Man, and E.T. came out in 1983. So if you put this game in the context of the games that came out at the same time in 1984, it's pretty damn impressive, actually. I mean, you can't compare it to other RPGs like Zelda or Ys or Dragon Quest or Final Fantasy, which just came out in 1990, a year after this. But you compare it to RPGs like Adventure or Dragon Stomper or Ultima. Well, it kind of fails in comparison to Ultima, but you get my point, is that it's quite an impressive game when you put it in the proper context. Now, the only thing is it does take a lot of grinding to level up, and in the beginning you're really weak. A lot of people don't understand why you might randomly just start losing life and how the system works. It's pretty complicated for an old game, but whenever your character is really low, whenever your character is standing still, you regain your strength, which is the life bar. When you move around, you don't regain strength until later in the game, and when you walk through rough terrain, you lose strength because it takes a lot out of you. So you don't walk through when you walk through the forest, you'll lose life. When you reach a certain level, that'll stop happening. And at top levels, you won't even, you'll actually regain in the rough terrain, so that rough terrain doesn't even matter anymore. When you attack enemies, you basically just have to walk into them kind of like Ys, and you'll start automatically attacking them. But there are two modes, attack and defend. When you're normally in defend mode, and you could see you trading blows until one of them dies. And you obviously you get a bonus for attacking from the side or from behind. Oh, see, I just got killed because 2 enemies ganged up on me. And you press the A button to switch to attack mode, which greatly increases your attack, but greatly decreases your defense. So it's a good way to get killed if the enemy is stronger than you. But if you do it from behind, when they can attack you, or from the side where their effectiveness is greatly reduced, it's a good way to take out enemies quickly. So, you know, you just got to keep leveling up by fighting slimes and little demon guys, and, you know, there's a whole lot of items to find and shit. But I'm not going to play this for too much longer because, see, I just got killed again. It is a very difficult game that requires a lot of patience. I have beaten it. It's certainly not, like, one of the greatest games ever, but, like I said, when you put in the context of 1984, it's very impressive, and it's really... It's got a bad rap. It's not the piece of shit that people have made it out to be. Because it came out in 1989 when there were much, much, much better games of the same type. I mean, I just want to point out, if there was no Hydlide, if this game never existed, there would be no Ys, because Ys was greatly influenced by Hydlide. It was like Falcom saw Hydlide and said we could do it better. And if there was no Ys, there'd be no Zelda. I just want to point that out. Of course, there would be no Hydlide without Falcom's own Dragon Slayer, which came first. You know, and then there were earlier games like Black Onyx and whatnot. But this was a really influential game in Japan, believe it or not. Very important game. It's just that, you know, the overworld looks like Zelda, the main character looks like he came out of Dragon Quest, and people think it's like a rip-off, and it came out in 1989 in America, and it's got a bad rap. I mean, Angry Video Game Nerd even did a video on it, although I think that he actually could have been a lot meaner about this game. He didn't even go into the whole rough terrain thing. I think that would have been really funny. He didn't understand why he was losing life, but like when he died in the cave, it was because of the terrain. He had low life, and he died because of the, you know, the arduous trek that he was making. So he was actually a little more kind to this game. One thing that the critics, though, are absolutely correct on is the music is just terrible. It's mind-numbing. When I do play this, like when I played through it, I turned the music off and just played my own music. It's just... It never stops. It's just awful. Some people mistakenly call my commentary videos reviews. They're not reviews, but this is the closest I've done to a review. Yeah. You do learn magic eventually, you know, there's that, but yeah, I just died again. I was overextending myself. I'm gonna stop here though. But yeah, the music's terrible. It never stops that rip-off Indiana Jones music, so just want to point that out. And, you know, the plot's nothing special. Dragon breathes fire and the princess splits into 3 fairies. The whole object is to find the 3 fairies, which will bring you to the dragon's castle, beat the dragon, you go in, you beat the big bad guy, rescue the princess. 3 fairies come together and form the princess. Personally, I guess the princess is this guy's girlfriend or whatever. I mean, I guess he could have macked it with the 3 fairies. Foursome, you know, that would have been more interesting than just one princess. But whatever, you know, maybe they don't have vaginas. Maybe that's, like, the inherent flaw of fairies. So, yeah, that's Hydlide. I'll see you guys a little later. I'll play some Street Fighter.